Now, human rights groups repeatedly described former President Duterte's war on drugs as a war against the poor, with a number of families still calling for justice for victims of the so-called extrajudicial killings. Now, that the current administration refuses to rejoin the ICC, many are doubtful that justice would still be served. Commission on Human Rights Jacqueline Guia joins us now on the phone for more on this issue. Thank you for joining us tonight, Attorney Guia. In your statement yesterday, the CHR says it respects the prerogative of the President not to rejoin ICC, but you also describe this as unfortunate. But what does this decision mean for the drug war victims and their families, Attorney?
Well, David, we have to identify two separate issues here. First is it is unfortunate that the Philippine government has decided not to rejoin the ICC. And in that regard, we do say that the decision of not rejoining the ICC is something that we have to look beyond the war on drugs. We have to look beyond this current administration, and we have to look beyond our domestic boundaries. In a sense that if we look at the four crimes that the ICC has jurisdiction over, we must also remember that two of those crimes pertain to wars on aggression and pertain to war crimes. And that contemplates a situation where it's another country, another sovereign power that now invades or challenges the sovereignty of the Philippines, for example, as the case of Russia and Ukraine. And we've seen here that in cases of war, such as that happening in Ukraine, the ICC is an additional mechanism that we can rely on when domestic recourses are not available. Because during a war, of course, the courts cannot function. And it is in that regard that we do say that it's a loss for future generations, and it's something that would have been an additional layer of protection or an access to remedy in case of war or aggression by another state. Of course, the decision not to cooperate was clarified by the Secretary of Justice. He did say that they're going to engage, but it will be more out of courtesy, and that is, of course, welcome at this point. We have always consistently said in the past that it is to the advantage of the government if it were to maintain open lines of communication so that it can better explain the context here in the Philippines. And, of course, it's also a welcome statement that the DOJ will continue the review panel. And we have to, of course, emphasize the fact that there is now a recognition that it has to progress beyond the review, beyond the investigation, to the actual prosecution of cases. And SOJ Remulla mentioned that the lack of witnesses is lamentable. And we do understand that because, of course, we also have to take into account that there's a climate of fear, given the fact that the Philippine National Police is alleged to be the perpetrators in this crime. So I guess there's a need for confidence building and the statement of SOJ in terms of encouraging them to go forward. And he did say that protection will be given to them is another good guarantee from the government.
Let me go back to your statement again, Attorney. You said there that rejoining ICC would have been an opportunity for this current administration to, well, highlight or, emphasize its commitment to ensuring remedy for human rights violations. But as we've heard Justice Secretary Boying Remulla also saying that not joining the ICC does not mean or equate to depriving Filipinos an avenue for justice. Your thoughts about it?
Well, if you were to look kasi at the current situation right now, because they're looking to the drug war, then probably it's easy to understand the position of the government. and it's natural given the fact that they are on the defensive, no? But if we were to look beyond the war on drugs, beyond this administration, beyond the domestic boundaries, and if we were to look at it in a bigger context, say for example, it's an invasion by another country in the Philippines, then you would properly appreciate and understand the ICC as an additional access to remedy in cases where your courts can no longer work. Of course, in the current situation where the ICC has already commenced an investigation in the drug war, the natural defense of the government now would be to assert complementarity, and that is to clearly demonstrate that our courts are working. For that to happen, what has to take place is for more cases to reach the courts. And we are, of course, looking forward to the DOJ filing the cases because that will clearly signal that our local courts are working. They're, probably, to a lot of extent, the ICC is looking for more Kian de los Santos cases. And unless we can produce more of those, then there is a thinking from their perspective that our local courts, or local justice system rather, is not working.
We have just a few more moments, seconds, attorney, but maybe just I want to get your thoughts about, we shift to another issue, but still related to the drug war, the previous administration's campaign against drugs. What is the CHR's view on how this current administration will handle the case of detained former Senator Leila de Lima? How do you see it, this current government handling it? Or at least you want this government to handle these cases against the former senator.
Well, we do hope that she will be accorded due process. We do hope that the delay in trying her case will be looked at. Of course, it is a constitutional right that there is a speedy disposition of cases. She has languished in jail for a significant period of time, and we do hope that she will be given a fair day in court, and we look forward, of course, to her release.
Attorney, of course, si President Bongbong Marcos majority win siya nung nakaraang election. So you can just imagine the enormity, the unprecedented support he is getting from the Filipino people. Pero bakit sa tingin mo importante pa rin ito sa mga kababayan to understand these issues that kailangan as much as possible we rejoin, we go back, na as you've been pointing out, kailangan makabalik tayo ulit sa ICC.
Yes, so David, napaka-importante, napakahalaga para sa bawat Pilipino na maintindihan itong issue ng pagbabalik sa ICC. Hindi lamang sa konteksto ng kasalukuyan, wag sanang tignan sa konteksto ng nakaraang administrasyon, wag sanang tignan sa konteksto ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Kaya lang in the future, because we are in an international community, we belong in the international community. Nakita natin sa Ukraine at Russia, it's very possible at any moment for a country to be drawn into war, for a country like ours, for example, to be invaded, to have territorial issues, and we're so pinaglalaban natin talaga yung atong national territory at national sovereignty. Ang sinasabi natin, sa pagkakataon na lusubin tayo ng ibang bansa at nagkaroon ng giyera sa loob ng bansa, syempre sa panahon na iyon, hindi makakagana yung ating mga hukumat. At sa pagkakataon na yun, kahit yung mga kasundaluhan natin, tulad ng nangyayari sa Ukraine, ay biktima rin ng isang giyera o kaya ng international humanitarian law. At tulad ng sibilyan at ng sundalo, gusto natin na maproteksyonan ang mga karapatan ng mga tao sa panahon ng giyera. At ang ICC ay isang additional protection, isang access to remedy para sa mga biktima sa panahon na iyon. So sabi nga natin, mas ma-appreciate mo yung beauty siguro ng Rome Statute or ng ICC kung hindi mo lilimitahan yung perspektibo sa kasalukuyan na administrasyon at hindi lamang doon sa domestic o kaya sa Philippine situation. Lawakan natin ito. para makita natin yung beauty ng Rome statute.
Commission on Human Rights Executive Director Jacqueline and the Guia, always a pleasure speaking to you.